Super fun and super simple. Today we're going to show you a wacky water experiment that I think is really clever. All you're going to need to conduct this experiment is a jar of cold water, a jar of hot water, some blue and red food dye, a plastic card and a dish. Make sure that one of your parents is around to give you a hand with this experiment. The first step is to pour the red food dye into the hot water jar and then very carefully stir it around to mix the colour. Then use some of the blue food dye to colour the cold water. This means you'll have a jar of cold blue water and a jar of hot red water. Make sure that the water goes all the way to the top of the jar so that it's almost spilling out. The first step is to put your cold water jar inside your dish, then carefully cover it with the plastic card. The next step is to turn this jar carefully upside down. You'll see that the vacuum formed inside the jar holds the card onto the surface. Then have your mum or dad place the hot jar of water into the dish and carefully place the cold jar on top. You'll need to go around every side of the jar and make sure that the edges line up perfectly. Then get someone to very carefully pull out the card from in between the jars. As they do, you'll see that the water starts to mix, which forms a pinkish purple colour. As each of the jars mixes in with the other one, you'll see that the colour evens out completely. This is because the water is very slowly mixing all of its molecules together. Now try this. Take the jar of red hot water, place the card on top, and repeat the same steps. This time the blue jar is on the bottom and the red jar is on the top. Have someone very carefully remove the card from the middle, and this time you'll see that the jars don't mix. So why is this? Is it the colours? No, it's not. In fact, the hot water has a different density to the cold water. It's very slightly less dense than the cold water and so sits on top. When we compare them side to side, you'll see that the reaction is completely different. This is because the cold water in the first experiment is more dense than the hot water and so sinks straight through all the gaps between the molecules in the hot water. And there we have it, a really simple, really cool science experiment.